Namaste.
Hello and welcome to the Sikkim podcast brought to you by Summit Times. I'm Tshering Eden.
And I'm Pema Wangchuk.
And
it's been a while.
It's been a long while. We have not been able to find time to record the podcast because we have so many things to work on.
We've been working on a lot of things,
We've been trying for the past
2 weeks.
2 weeks to schedule some time and it just would not happen. And there are so many things that we wanted to discuss, but since we've already lost so much time, we'll have to stick with what is the latest on what is happening, and we'll start with that. Maybe we can later on, we might go back to those topics, to subjects, I was thinking.
Yeah, if it comes by.
Yeah.
Sure.
So COVID-19 hit Sikkim finally on 23rd May.
Yes.
With the first patient testing positive. And who was the first patient?
The first patient was this youth who returned from Delhi.
And then till now, we've had 13 cases. 3 have recovered and 10 are now active cases of COVID in the state.
Yeah.
And so much has happened.
And the first patient is well on his way to recovery.
Yeah,
his virus load has come down very low. And the good news really is that all of them are asymptomatic.
Not most of them are asymptomatic.
All of
there
them.
was some
one patient who had developed slight fever has recovered. Has recovered from COVID itself.
Yeah.
So.
And so let's start with the latest. Like 6 new cases were announced day before, no? Or was it yesterday?
Yes.
Sorry, yesterday. That is on
9th.
Monday?
Tuesday,
the State Health Department announced that 6 new cases had been detected.
In a single day.
And 4 of them were from the Kyongsa facility quarantine. 1 from Majitar, I think it's a girls' quarantine center. And 1 was from
CCCT,
Chisopani, yeah. And
all of them are returnees, as was always expected to be the case. All the Sikkimis returning from all over India, many of them from places that have been declared hotspots, and having to travel in the kind of trains that they had to travel in. I mean, God knows where they got infected. But all the cases. I think what people are missing out on this whole COVID hyper paranoia that is coursing through Sikkim is all the positive cases so far have been people returning from outside.
Yeah.
So there have been no COVID cases in Sikkim itself of local transmission. And that's, I think, important to bear in mind because technically speaking, then Sikkim continues to be COVID-free. There is no transmission here. Thankfully also, all of them were in facility quarantines when they were screened and detected, except the 2 cases from South Sikkim, which we can get into. I guess we'll get into. I think that's important for people to bear in mind. All these people going like, let's have lockdown again, shut everything down, and why are you opening everything? I think those people are missing the point that COVID is not transmitting in Sikkim, right? It has been contracted outside. And all the people who tested positive were in facility quarantines and they had not been released, so to speak, into the communities. So I think that's important to bear in mind. And let's not lose our empathy and everything that makes us human when we come to COVID.
No, I think what happened was that the administration also, I think, struggled, especially when a large number of Sikkimis started coming in.
Yes.
They struggled
train
to
loads.
keep up. Train loads and the facilities that were in place, and not just the facilities in place were running short. That's the I think even the...
They've not really run short.
No, they said that also.
They say a lot of things. They don't know what they say.
No, they've said that even the health secretary has said that there were some cases where we had to let them go, right?
No.
Because let them go earlier because we were running...
space.
To make space.
To make space. I don't think Sikkim lacks space. They have taken over so far government school hostels. There are government schools. There are BDO offices. There are community halls. So I don't think Sikkim has a problem of running out of space. I think what Sikkim really lacks, because really, I mean, they're doing a reasonably good job. Let's not get that wrong, right? I think Sikkim is doing a reasonably good job of handling the cases, right? Handling the arrival of Sikkimese, making arrangements and things like that. I think it's doing a reasonably good job, but that does not mean that it should not try and do better.
Yeah.
It had 5 months, if you're talking about the COVID chronology, and 2.5 months of the lockdown, when it had no cases, which was time that it would have been better used if it had been invested in preparing for a scenario such as now, when so many people are coming back and cases are being detected. I don't think they did enough of that. And I think that's such a waste. I think they just focused too much on just slapping people around here instead of preparing themselves.
Yep.
I think that administrative lapse, and that, I don't know what you blame for it. It's the celebration of mediocrity, I think. If people basically, if you're going to say, oh, such a great job for people who are doing what they are required to do, I think that's where you're missing the
That was my line,
point.
no?
Oh, okay.
Celebration of mediocrity.
Okay, so I'll allow you to say it again.
No, it's okay.
We'll get to celebrate it many times through the course of this podcast. But I think that's where they failed. But I mean, staying with the COVID cases, I really have a problem with people who try to fan fear or scare people more. I think people are already scared enough of the virus. I think they've already suffered enough with the lockdown and all these other regulations that are in place. I don't think you're doing anyone any service if you think that I need to scare people more. I think that's something that people should realize. So all these WhatsApp groups that explode with fakery and stuff. Or let's go to that. Why don't you tell us about those 2 women from South Sikkim? That's a very interesting episode. If you can quickly kind of go over what happened there, then we can talk about.
Yeah, so these 2 women from South Sikkim who were in a facility quarantine, they had gotten tested, I guess, a few days.
Their samples were taken, yeah.
Their samples were taken after they reached here and were put in a facility quarantine. And at that time, the state did not have a viral lab of its own. So they were sending it to the North Bengal Medical College and Hospital in Siliguri. So, and then what happened was the North Bengal College was swarmed with samples of their own state. And they had stopped sending back... Not stop sending back. They had told the state to hold sending samples for some time because we don't have now enough kits.
There's too much backlog.
Too much backlog. So the state had been waiting for some of the samples to come back. And during this time, the state got its own lab, and these 2 women completed their facility quarantine period of 14 days, and then they were sent for home quarantine. And I think a few days after they were under home quarantine, the report came from Siliguri.
It didn't come from Siliguri.
It did come, yeah, but they came to know that these 2 women were positive. So how the State Health Department came to know of this was also not because North Bengal sent them a report or anything. The North Bengal had not been sending any reports. The health officials who had been monitoring data online also, they came across names of these 2 women on the ICMR's website where they list COVID positive cases and all that. They recognized the names and then followed up and found out that there were these 2 women from Sikkim, from South Sikkim, who were tested positive.
Whose samples
had tested positive. And not funny, but let's say it's interesting is that, so after that, the state also conducted a test shortly after. Almost immediately when they found out that they were COVID positive, they again conducted fresh
they picked them up,
test,
brought them to the isolation ward,
STNM hospital,
picked their families and put them into quarantine facilities, their primary contacts.
Yeah, and then they tested them again, and they tested negative. So basically, because their earlier samples had been taken long time back, almost like more than 10 days.
Yeah, at least more than 10 days.
So during that time, they had already recovered. So by the time...
I think that is what happened.
That is what we think happened. So by the time the State Health Department tested them for COVID-19, they tested negative. So this again caused a lot of confusion among the public, I think, thinking as it is, there is a trust deficit, right, when it comes to the administration and all that. So they were like, how is it possible? Yesterday you were saying she was positive, today you are saying she's negative, and it is difficult to the department is putting out these bulletins and trying to explain to people what is happening, the COVID status. But then there are people who don't pay attention.
Yes,
and
I think it's important for people to bear in mind that just like is the case with India, where you cannot hide some things, right, irrespective of what the governments might want. In this case, please just trust the authorities. I don't think the health department is going to try and fudge data. At most, they'll make doubly sure that they have the right data. We're talking numbers here. We're not talking other finer details, right? So just trust them. Don't trust your WhatsApp groups which say that, oh, they are lying, there are more cases and things like that. I think that's something that people should consciously slap down. Not allow even in these groups these whispers to carry on. Like in the case of these women, right? We started receiving phone calls that they were going on picnics and they went shopping and they did this and they did that. And of course, like when you speak to these people, none of them has actually seen them do any of these things. They've heard from someone who claims to, like the typical Chinese whisper game, right? And later, and I would like to believe that to be true, when it was when people went to the ground. In one case, the home quarantine was excessively strict, I think. They had made a separate shed for the person. And the food would be left out and all that. In the other case, there might have been some contact with the family. And then secondary, the family might have had contact with other people. Thankfully, all the primary contacts have also tested negative. There's still another week. They'll probably test them again or whatever. And they had cured by then, for all we know, right? The virus was already kind of run its cycle and they had beaten it with their own immunity. I think this rumor thing is like really getting to me. Like this, for instance, there is this one which I think the health department has also clarified as fake news, about someone having run away from the isolation ward. And then one person kind of just starts that rumor. Someone else adds to it that person is actually grabbing people, trying to pass on the virus. And then by the time it reaches your WhatsApp group, there is actually this lady, very serious sounding lady, who I think should by now have been arrested. I don't know what this fact-checking team does. Who's claiming that she has spoken to media persons and that this is in fact true and people are trying to suppress this information. I don't know why. Can you spread any more panic?
So the rumor was this this COVID patient had escaped from the isolation ward and had run to Lal Bazaar and was touching people, trying to spread the virus.
Yeah, because according to this well-meaning lady, he's slightly
psycho.
Cuckoo. Psycho is the word she used.
So these kind of rumors, it's been going on for almost a week now, I think, this rumor.
This rumor has been going on for a week, yes, I'm sure, at least a week, because it was a similar, and why does it have to be women? Remember that first when this coronavirus thing was spreading, there was again this audio.
Don't get into all that,
No, I'm not saying that. Yeah, okay. There was the first viral audio was this lady whispering into the phone that corona aayo hai Sikkim and STNM mein there's a patient. How could we've discussed it on the podcast about 3 months back about this that corona has come here at STNM, don't go there and things like that.
It was some nurse supposedly, no?
Supposedly a nurse and things like that. So my point being that first of all, I think it was extremely pompous of the government to set up a fact-finding team. Right? But then they did it. But then do your job. Right? And the fact-checking team, I think if you've got the SP crime branch as the team leader, then they cannot be just sitting there saying this is true, this is false. Right? That even your press club representative in that team can do for you. When you have an SP crime branch there, we want the crime branch to actually investigate some crimes and find out where did it begin from. Because it might have begun as a prank, right? A very poor sense of humor or whatever. But it must have begun as a prank, but then it becomes really mischievous. Because we also have viral messages circulating of how people in paid quarantine are roaming around, going shopping and going for walks and buying things in the shops and all that, none of which is verified. It is very believable, right? But if you look at the facts on the ground, like yesterday an incident happened in Devrali where some people who had completed facility quarantine and were supposed to be in home quarantine, right, stepped out to buy some things. The people recognized them and complained to the cops, and the cops came and scolded these people and sent them back home.
Is that true?
That is true.
Okay.
This is a good sign that when these things happen, the people are so scared that they're actually going to tattle on their neighbors and they're going to call in the cops and send these people back. The other samosa episode that we had, where this person was not being allowed samosas for whatever reasons, was not being allowed out of his hotel. So all the evidence, physical evidence and actually verifiable information we have is where every time someone tried to transgress or leave the facility, they have not been allowed to do so. The rest we have only heard. So I think people are so scared and people are so nasty that they're not going to allow. I think in rural Sikkim they'll be even more strict.
I'm amazed with the kind of conviction people have when they say these things. Even when we shared news that about the two women from South Sikkim, we spoke to the panchayats and the local people, and they all said no, nothing. They have not been allowed to roam about freely and all that. There were comments saying, "Call me, I will tell you what happened." Right?
Yes.
But
what they'll tell us is like, my friend saw them out. Right? Because we've had some very earnest and angry messages also from people from the village who said that I can vouch that this person was not roaming around because I live there and I've not seen any one of their different villages, of course. So I think that is actually people vele
and they'll just write these weird cryptic messages ki you don't know, we have seen, we know what is happening here, but no details, right?
Yeah.
Like ऐसे.
And we got to also keep in mind, I mean, this is a very unique case in itself, but we got to also keep in mind that don't stigmatize. I mean, like what people are also, and there's this stigma being attached now increasingly to people who've come from outside.
And this brings me to point out that nothing is being done about information, about sharing information and awareness on COVID-19 in the state.
Yeah, nothing major. I don't see that. It's a lockdown people are in. No, because what I'm saying is when you get caught up in your fakeries, the real issues get sidelined. The real issues which require immediate attention sometimes. Like, for instance, some weeks back, it was the people stranded in Bombay who thought they were not being attended to enough.
Yeah.
Remember the famous viral video and the kind of response it generated, the kind of ill will it created, which is like shocking. Normally, you would have expected everyone to empathize with them and tell the government, hey, why don't you try to get them out sooner? And the government will tell them why they can't do it. And it could have been discussed at that level. That is not what happened. And then when people started coming back, and we all have seen on national television how bad the Indian Railways preparation to move people was, right? So out there also when people complained, you started fighting back with them. Ki, what did you expect? Don't you know that trains are like this only? The government is doing so much for you, be grateful. That was not the argument they should have gotten into. And missing in all this noise at one end, fake news at the other end is no one is finding out, no one is trying to find out from the returning Sikkimese that did they feel safe through the journey? Did they feel welcome? Were they taken care of properly, right? Not enough is coming out except in some propaganda videos in which everyone is so grateful to this great government.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you shouldn't be grateful to the government. I'm saying there are still issues. We can celebrate things later. Right now, pick out every mistake and go after it and try to correct it. I mean, you were telling me about, why did you tell us about the process of getting into Rome? Not that you have gotten into Rome too.
Yeah, so this one is very, very disturbing. I was going to write about it, then I don't know what happened. I didn't have the time. So this is, again, I've heard, but this is a first-hand account of people returning from outside the state at Rangpo. What this person told me is that the arrangements have been done really well, but they've been done really well for people inside Sikkim. For those who are coming back, there is no safety, okay? What this means, what that person meant by this is that when that person reached the Rangpo border, they were asked to fill a self-declaration form where they're coming
which
from.
Which they've done online as well.
Which they've done online as well. So fill it physically, paper mein. They had to fill the details and all that. So they said you have to, it's there, you go and pick up the declaration form. Because again, nobody wants to have any contact with people coming from outside. Understandable, but okay. So when this person went there was this big carton full of papers, those self-declaration forms, and was kind of scared. The person was kind of scared also because so many people before must have come and touched the pile of paper and the carton and whatnot. Anyway, fill the form, and then it's all glass there. The
registering authorities,
whatever, those people are behind this glass thing, and you have to just show the self-declaration form. You have to like stick it onto the glass, and the person inside looks at it and copies it down. That also we don't understand why, because you've already, like you said, the online registration has been done, but still, okay, they look at that thing, and then the most dangerous part is that they call you. There's a phone there.
Intercom.
It's like an intercom, landline types. Landline, intercom. From the person inside will give you a call. There's a phone outside, a handset outside, like not a mobile, the phone.
It's like those prison when you go to
in the prison in Hollywood, whatever movies you see. So you have to, then they'll ask you some questions. So this person who told me about this whole experience was like, I was so scared, like, my God, why will I want to touch a phone? I don't know who has touched it before me.
Not touch a phone, bring it
close to my mouth, to my ears, to my face. But there was no option, so phone uthaya, and then there's a random questions. Do you want paid quarantine or this thing? And then that person was like, she didn't tell that person, but she was telling me that I've already mentioned.
It's all there.
But anyway, so a few questions, phone cut gaya. After some time, another phone rang on this other side, just near it only. That person was calling her, but I don't know, he chose to call this other number. So
if you didn't get infected with this one, the second one will definitely get you.
So, yeah. So, that was...
I think...
I forgot to say, another important point that I missed out was, this person had registered online to come back to Sikkim, and did not receive any confirmation mail, no information, nothing. And directly after a week, she received a call,
automated,
by an automated, by a bot or whatever. Do you want to come to Sikkim? Press 1 if you want to come to Sikkim. And she had pressed 1, and then the line cut, and she didn't know what had happened. So finally, she had to make a backdoor entry.
No, not backdoor entry. She had to use her contacts.
To
make sure that she could enter.
To get her name in the list of people who are coming in and all that. And she was expressing frustration at this whole thing, because she was like, I wanted to do it in the normal way, but in the end, like everything else in Sikkim, you have to have some contacts in higher up places for anything like this to be done. And the irony, not irony, but in sharp contrast was the fact that the place where she was coming from, she online registered
to
leave in the morning. Immediately she received a confirmation mail saying your application has been received, is being processed. In the evening she got a mail saying your application has been approved, here is the permit, you print it out and take it. It was as simple as that.
Yeah. Simple is not, I guess. And my problem with this whole episode was also that I'm not saying that people should not take precautions, right? Of course, people working at Rangpo and all the doctors there, or all the clerical staff there, everyone there needs to be provided the best safety that you can process. But that doesn't mean that you are so ignorant or
forsake people coming from outside.
Like, you at least make the effort, no?
Yeah.
Now again, if you bring this point out, you will have this army that has sharpened its knife saying, oh, be grateful that you're being allowed in. I mean, get lost. This is their state. They've got all the right to come in, even if they're carrying the virus. They've got the right to be here. And I mean, people should just get that right. And it does not take much to have the right gestures. In earlier discussions also we've talked about, like, go the extra, where you would have wanted them to go the extra distance to make the returning Sikkimis feel welcome, is they're doing this tokenism by the numbers.
My problem is that, like pointed out earlier, we had a head start, right? Almost 5 months, according to you.
No, since the virus arrived. But the lockdown 2 months.
Yeah, since the lockdown, we had a head start. We could have arranged everything like in such a exemplary manner that it would have been like talked about in the entire country. Look at Sikkim, because this phone thing also, like, it is just, I don't know. It's easy for us to point fingers, but I don't know. I don't trust the government. I don't.
If you have to have a phone there, have that sanitizing spray that you can disinfect.
Call in the mobile number of that person. Yeah, it's better. No, that ways.
I know.
Why do you have to do that?
Why do you have this intercom business?
Simple. Otherwise, you have those other train stations and all. You have a mic outside and you have a
touching.
Yeah, no touching muching. It should be all closed. I understand, right? Or you have those. There's so many gadgets, yeah. Like, you don't have to be. I don't know whether people are just dumb, whether they don't care, or whether they didn't find anything like that.
No, they didn't. It did not. See, my problem is it did not cross their minds. So if it crossed someone's mind and they thought it's too expensive to do, I'm fine. I'm not fine with it, but I'll accept it because there were logistical reasons you couldn't do it.
No, because
my problem is that for all we know, it did not even cross their mind, and that reveals a lack of empathy.
It is really sad. No, because
that lacks genuine concern.
What you had pointed out. No, suppose that person had said, "No, I'm not going to pick up the phone. Right? This is so unsanitary. I don't know who else has touched the phone. You call me on my number." ये क्या होता? कितना attitude है? We are allowing them to come back home. And itna attitude and all that, so you logic gaya bhar mein, your health gaya bhar mein, your safety gaya bhar mein, gratitude is what matters more.
Yeah, and they are already grateful. They are already so relieved they've gotten home. So that emotion they already have enough of.
No, because it doesn't make sense. You bring that, you are infecting. Suppose by that phone itself, if you have infected like 50 people. Who's going to take care of them? You only are going to take care of them. No, they're entering Sikkim. Yeah. You have infected 50, 100 of them, and then कौन याद करेगा? तुम्हारे, you only will be sitting at home scared, oh my God, and all that. So if you make that little bit extra, not even extra effort, it is like required effort to make sure that everything is in place, like everything is done.
For everyone, for all parties.
Yeah, all parties. So basically this was that the workers here, they were safe with, nobody was like coming in any contact with
which is good.
But then वही तो ना बाहर से जो आ रहा है तुम लोग तो बाहर में जाओ.
तुम लोग तो already बहुत exposed हो गए.
No, because even that online the physical self-declaration form I don't understand, and this friend was also saying why couldn't they have such they could have handed it out one page. Somebody could have handed it out to us wearing gloves and all that. We don't mind, right? We don't mind तो क्या मतलब all that, but it was like नहीं तुम अपना देख लो हमको तुमसे like
small gestures I think would have helped. Yes.
And
we've covered all the topics. It's not bad.
No, yeah. So
we have covered all the topics more or less.
Yeah, and it's like 29 minutes now.
Oh, that's good.
So should we close it now or should
any parting rants? I ranted a lot. You should get some.
I also ranted a little bit.
Thoda aur.
Rants too, like there were so many.
No, I think it is. The takeaway from this whole thing is that social distancing. I think some people were right when they were insisting, let's not call it social distancing, let's call it physical distancing and social intimacy or social concern. I think because social distancing bolke na, people have literally taken it as that. Everybody to their own devices. I don't care for you and I don't expect you to take care of me. I think that's where things are going wrong. I think And I think it's in the circulation of fake news that we amplify the lack of genuine concern. Because every fake news is based on the premise that there are evil people out there, that there are people wishing to do you harm out there, and you have to be careful. That is not the case. I don't think that is the case. I think all the doctors are working very hard. I've always had problems with cops, but I think they're also doing their jobs, right? I've always had problems with babus. In their limited capacities, I think they're trying to do their best. So I don't think anyone is out there to intentionally harm anyone, except the people creating fake news. Your job has to be make sure that everyone is forced to do even better. I think that has to be the focus.
Well, this would be a parting note. I wanted to discuss something else before that, but like a parting, like I would like to tell those in power, like we still have some time. Like it hasn't really exploded as such.
No, and all the cases are from outside.
No, whatever it is, outside, inside. But like, if there are any gaps, fill it now.
Yes.
Like, act fast.
Take every criticism well.
Yeah.
Take every criticism seriously, even if it comes from an 18-year-old or a 50-year-old. Take all of them seriously and see if they help you deliver better governance and administration. That has to be the attitude.
Because I'm sure there are many gaps, and
of course,
which
I mean, look at that stranded family in Rangpo.
Yeah, I hope authorities rise above ego tussles and all of that, to provide the best for the Sikkimese public and to work.
Mushkil hoga, but they can try. This is emergency time. Disaster Management Act should have a clause that you cannot let your ego interfere in your delivery.
I know. No, I was going to talk about that story that exploded on Instagram, I think mostly, about this young girl who had shared a video
we kind of touched on that,
of the train where she was complaining that it is not clean, it is not like it was not what
they didn't have water.
No water.
No food.
That's not what they had expected, and she had just shared it on social media, and then she got a lot of flack for it. Like, not just flack, like people I think they're still after her. And we shared the story. One of our interns had done a story on that, and it was more about how social media has become a place where if you share anything, anything controversial or even your contrarian to nahi bolungi, but anything, anything that is a little bit strong, like it's not like
that you have an opinion.
That you have an opinion.
No, which does not fit in with the majority discourse.
Okay. No, majority discourse, there were complaints. No, it's just like anything extreme, not extreme also, like anything you're saying, no, this is not right, then people will attack you. No, this is right, then people will attack you, right? I don't know, maybe in some ways this is right, but I see that it has some negative points. Those kind of views will not get anything, right? Anyway, so we got a response for the stories also saying that what that girl was saying was misleading and it was biased, and we also traveled on the train, and then there was nothing. No, she didn't say there was nothing like that, but I really didn't understand that response. So, because what you are talking about, I think a lot of people regarding this case also, people were like, be grateful. You've been provided a train to come back home. You suffer the heat and the lack of water and the unsanitary conditions. Because
it's like this. My response to that is this. If the Indian Railways is going to take credit for moving so many stranded people home, it has to also take the brickbats for providing such shitty provisions, right? Facilities. Similarly, if the state government wants to be credited for having arranged the evacuation of so many Sikkimese, and it deserves credit for that, it's not an easy job to pull off, it should also be open to criticism if their arrangements were not good enough. It's as simple as that. And maybe your gratitude, in many people, the sense of gratitude is much bigger than their privations. And in some people, maybe they're irritated by for having been treated as I mean, given the facilities in the train, even less than human, I would say, right? And both have a point to make,
No.
and it's fine.
No,
I can blame the government. Like, you cannot say you can't blame the government because the trains are provided by the central government. No, I mean,
my take on this was that I was thinking, it is all relative, right? What is not an inconvenience for me could be an inconvenience for you.
Yeah.
So you cannot say whether, when you say this was inconvenient, I cannot say, no, you are wrong. It's convenient for me and all that, right? But the problem is that she thinks that it was inconvenient and she shared it. Why do you have to go after that person? Why do you have to attack that person for sharing what she felt she was experiencing, right? That I don't understand. I don't understand why people why it's so complicated, this thing, right? Because on one hand, I feel like she has got a lot of haters, that girl who's on. I don't know, yaar. Even I don't know her. Maybe she is an irritating person. I don't know, right? Maybe because of that she has a lot of haters. Then there is this other thing that maybe the political parties are behind
instigating the
comments.
Sikkim's favorite.
Instigating comments and all that, right? There is that angle also. There's so many things but I don't get it. Why?
That's Sikkim's favorite excuse. Every time they want an escape hatch from a awkward situation, that's politically motivated. Vested interests, politically motivated. Those are easy dodges. I think we should just junk all of that. And because it's like this, right? I mean, for the longest time I've been saying this. People, governments will always say, we need positive criticism. And my answer to them always has been, there is no positive and negative criticism. There is criticism. How you take it is up to you. You cannot challenge me for my tone. You cannot challenge, you did not say it nicely enough. Doesn't matter. You listen to the message, right? So I think that is something that this situation, and now that the young, right? Because we've polluted even Instagram. This happened on Instagram, where all the young people appear to have run away because Facebook has been so polluted by us with our politics and stuff, right? And वहाँ पे भी घुस गए यार गंद पाने के लिए अब. So let's learn something from the young, and let's celebrate the fact that the young can have strong opinions and say that with rudeness. I like rudeness. Right? Say it rudely, say it politely, it doesn't matter. So long as you make sense. Because all the time that you do your honorables, you're not making any sense.
I know.
You're not adding anything to the public discourse. So if being rude gets a point across, important point across, more power to them.
Yes, and I would like to recommend a video that I watched yesterday, and I found it so... funny. Arunachali girl. I think she calls herself, her page or whatever, Minustan. Must be like a Hindustan thing.
Minustan.
Minustan.
Her name is probably Minu.
Maybe her tribe. We have no idea, right?
Arunachali,
I've God knows. Anyway, so it's called Minustan, and she had written this, recorded this video in response to, again, criticism about some video she had shared earlier, where she had shared this fun, rap by, and she had, I don't know if she had made the
models,
video.
From what I understood, it's a video, music video. One of the models is wearing
a Nishi
tribe costume.
Yeah, a Nishi tribe costume, and then people had said, "Ki, you are not a Nishi. How dare you share such videos? Are you mocking the Nishi tribe or whatever?" So she had a really nice, fun take. She came up, she's saying she seems like a very funny,
she
fun
tried
character.
To explain that she celebrates. She thinks that Nishi guys have swag.
She was saying she could have shared any tribe's video, but she thought Nishis have swag, so that's why she shared that video. And then she goes on to say that you can I don't understand why I got so much hate. I don't know if it was because of because you don't like me. Personally, or if it was
your
because
politics does not agree with me.
Whether it was the video or the rap or the tribe thing. And she says, if you don't like me personally, I have no problems. Keep hating me. That's something
you can't control.
You can't control. That's something different. But if you have a problem with the video of the rap of the tribe, with the tribe or whatever, she's like, then you are just racist. And then she ends the video by saying that Like, how can you say that I am not Nishi and all that right now? What if I marry a Nishi guy? Then I'll become Nishi. Then I'll sue you.
My children will be Nishi. And she ended by saying that now I'm going to do that seriously. You watch out, I'm marrying a Nishi guy.
So yeah.
Nishi guys must be lining up.
Yeah. So yeah, watch that video if you can
Yeah,
find it.
I think identity politics, no, there's only with so much seriousness you should take it.
Yeah.
You should learn to laugh at it and mock it the way this girl did. I think she did it so brilliantly.
She did it well, no? I was surprised.
I think I hope more of us can learn to do something like that.
Yeah. And on that note,
thank you for tuning in, listening in.
What did we say? Yeah, I don't even want to say that we'll be back soon. We don't know when we'll be back soon. But yeah, there's so many things. We will try and go back to some of there were so many. We already signed off and I'm still continuing. There was that missing trekking group. There was that reopening of schools that we missed.
They have not reopened yet.
They haven't.
So there's a lot of time.
They haven't. But there were a lot of controversial incidents in the past about stranded Sikkimis also. But we will touch upon that in the next episode whenever it comes out.
See you.
Bye.